Hello, thank you for joining me. Uh, I'm going to present today Cora Lite SEO software. It's a new product from SEO Tool Lab. So if you want to find more information or if you want to contact me with questions, you can do that through the website. And with that, we'll get started. I only have 3 slides, and then we'll just get into actual demos of using the software. So uh, with that, we'll just go ahead and get started. So first of all, who's going to be watching this presentation? It's going to be current Cora subscribers, past Cora subscribers, people who've known about Cora and what it is for a long time, and people who are hearing about it for the first time. And because there's such diversity like that, it's always a little bit difficult to get the balance just right for everyone. I know that some of what I'm going to present is going to be obvious to some people and it's going to be brand new to others. So please bear with me on that, and I'll try to keep everything as short as I can. So what is Cora? It's desktop software for Macs and PCs. It measures factors for your URLs and keywords, and it tells you how much of each factor you need to be competitive with your higher ranking competitors. It uses advanced math to identify which factors appear to influence rankings the most, and that's a very important detail because other tools aren't doing this. They have hard-coded SEO wisdom that always shows you the same things in the same order without priority. And because of that math, it's the only tool on the market that actively adapts to Google algorithm updates. When Google updates their algorithm and they favor new things with that algorithm, that is reflected in the very next Cora report you run. And because of that, there is this distinct and unique advantage that Cora has over other tools. Because we are actively looking at what Google prefers, mathematically teasing that information out, we're always making recommendations based on what's working. And so that's a very important fact. The other tools you'll find on the market, they do the measurements, but they're not doing the math to figure out which factors Google likes the most. So Cora Lite versus Cora, I've had Cora out for over 2 years now, and Cora Lite is the new product. So how are they different? Well, first off, I didn't want to just make a crippled version of Cora and call it Cora Lite. That would have been awful. So I wanted to make Cora Lite stand on its own and have value that's complementary to Cora. But it isn't just a crippled version of Cora. So Cora Lite is an on-page only tool, whereas Cora is capable of doing on-page and off-page and using lots of third-party APIs to get extra information. Cora Lite only measures up to 556 factors, all on page, whereas Cora can go up to 2,040 factors. Cora Lite, in my opinion, is the easiest SEO tool to master ever, hands down. It's the simplest to use, it's the simplest to understand, it's very limited in scope and presentation, and it's very well documented. So Cora, however, is an expert level diagnostics tool, and not all SEOs are expert level. So a lot of people in the past have had trouble with Cora because they weren't at a technical level to really understand all the data, or they weren't people that were used to working with data, so they are overwhelmed with the amount of data that Cora can produce. So there's a lot of reasons why Cora wasn't a good fit for everyone, and Cora Lite attempts to address a lot of those issues. Cora Lite's reports are HTML reports. They're intended to be shared. They're not intended to be number crunched like Cora reports are. They aren't the data dump for analysis and review. So there's a difference in the reports. And then Cora Lite is also white label. So there are features for editing the header and footer of the report and the styling of the report. So you can really customize it to your brand and your marketing message. And this gives you a unique opportunity to better use Cora Lite for prospecting clients. And that could be, having something that you print out and take in hand when you go to talk to a local business. That could be things you email to people who you might want to do business with. That might even be passive outreach, where you host reports in hopes that people will find them and contact you. And it might even be creating content about SEO so that you can do link building that you control out in your tier 2s, tier 3, things of that nature. So there's a lot of powerful ways to use Cora Lite that you typically wouldn't use Cora for. And another big difference is that Cora Lite is half the cost. Just cut it in half. And Cora users, the good news for you is that if you're a Cora subscriber, you get Cora Lite at no additional cost. Your Cora serial number will work in Cora Lite. So you just get it as an extra tool in the suite of analytical tools that comes with Cora. So with that, we'll switch over to the demo. So what you're seeing here is Cora Lite. This is the software. And what I want to point out first is in the settings. Let me bring those into frame. And so when you first get Cora Lite, you need to enter your serial number and save it. And I also recommend that you set an output directory. If you don't, it'll be in your user home directory, but that's confusing. So go ahead and pick a folder where you know to go look for your reports. And then of course, save the data. The other important thing I want you to do is to use the other APIs. And in that, you want to go to textrazor.com and sign up for a free account. You don't need their paid account. You can get a ton of valuable usage just using their free account, and put the API key in here. What this will do for you is it'll give you the entity data. And entities are nouns, people, place, things, those types of things that Google's algorithm can contextually understand. And right now, the world's top SEOs are killing it with entities, so I highly recommend you enable this feature. Okay, once you do that, once you enter in, just go ahead and hit the Google button, which will revalidate your key. You'll see this check-in status active. You'll see that the logo up here is green. This will change colors. If there's errors, it'll be red. If it's running, it'll be yellow. So you get a status indicator based on the logo. And how the software works is you will enter in a search. So we're going to do the desktop index, United States, English. We could localize to a city, but in this case, we're just going to say DUI lawyer Los Angeles, and we'll search. Always search from the toolbar, not the browser. We're piloting a lot of features, and it only works if you search from the toolbar. So next you'll notice our search results populated here. We have a track domain, which is a great setting to use. If you go to tracked, you can enter in domain names that when they're spotted in the search results, they automatically get checked as a website you want to get results for. And it's a very convenient way to do it. And you can do the same thing with competitors. So it automatically checked a website I had configured. And I want to rank on page 1, so I just picked all 10 of the page 1 results to compete against. Now you might say, well, I don't really compete with Yelp, so I want to take Yelp out and add in this one. That's fine. More power to you. What this does is it changes which websites you get tuning recommendations based on. So if Yelp is in there, you might get a recommendation saying, mathematically it says you really ought to add 28 more phone numbers to your web page. But that's because of the directories. If you take the directories out, the software won't recommend that you add 28 more phone numbers. So you got to think about the context of who your competitors are and what kinds of recommendations you want to get back. So the drawback to it is there's, a lot of keyword-rich, entity-rich content in Yelp, and that won't be factored into how you need to be competitive for page 1. But if you want to take a site like Yelp out just to find quick wins, that's totally fine. So once you select your competitors and your track domain, you just hit the Get Data button. And now we're running a report. And so in the bottom, we can see that it's doing its fast pass of getting the top 100 results. And in a moment, it'll go back, and any that seemed abnormally small or incomplete HTML or any number of different things will kick off a slow render. And a slow render means it'll re-render the page, but it'll give it a lot more time to finish rendering completely. And so the way to look at it is Cora is in the background instantly opening up 100 tabs of Chrome. And so that can use a lot of resources. Some of those pages might need extra time. So that's what we're trying to contend with. The main resource consideration for Cora is your CPU. So the number of cores and the CPU speed. It's not really a RAM hog, it's a CPU hog. It's highly threaded. So now it is starting to do the analysis. It's measuring the factors. It does them in batches of 20 so it doesn't overwhelm the system. So we're down to the last few. Should be done in a moment. So down to the last 4 of the 556 factors it's measuring. And now it's finished. We've run our report. So let me expand this a little bit. And this is saved as an HTML file in our output folder, but it's also here so you can view it. So what we have here is a branded header, and you can customize all of this to be your brand and your message and whatever you want. You just do that in the HTML header tab. And same thing with the footer. And if you need to customize the head block, you can do that. You can put in your tracking pixels and include libraries or style sheets or whatever you want to do in the head tag. And there's some wildcards you can use that get dynamically populated, so you can do those as well. What you'll find in the report is that you get the roadmap, which is where you want to spend most of your time. So we have factors here and 2 columns. And for this first column, this is the amount of each factor you need to add to be above average with the competitors you've chosen. And this is the amount you need to add to take the lead from the competitors you've chosen. And so you have 2 standards you can shoot for. If you just want to get into the game, you want to be above average. If you want to try and dominate the game, you want to take the lead. And so we have factors here like variations in the HTML tag. And you might wonder, well, what is an HTML tag? Well, you can click this link. Let me pull that browser into view. And that opens up a browser that goes to the documentation of the HTML tag. You can see an example of the tag in use. It represents the whole content of the page. And I find that W3 Schools is an excellent resource for understanding what a tag is and how it's used. So let me close that. So whenever you want to know about a particular tag or zone of a factor, we have that linked. So here, if you're wondering what the legal service JSON LD is, again, we click it. And let me pull that out. And it opens up to the schema.org page on that entity. So we have this very convenient hot linking to what you need to know about each factor. Now there's additional information here, like it says, well, variations in the HTML tag. What are variations? Well, we have this inline documentation. So over here it says variations are the words that Google makes bold in the desktop search results. Google bolds them to show you how relevant the results are. We measure them because they help make your page relevant for the target keyword. Then we list all the variations, and these numbers are how many of your chosen competitors are using each one. And again, with like entities, we measure those and we link to the entity in Wikipedia. But we also tell you how many of each of your competitors is using each entity. That way you get an idea of the importance of which ones. And same thing with LSI words. So here are the 3-word LSI phrases. And we show you how many of your competitors use each one. And so with that, with the inline documentation and the hot links, it makes the learning really easy. And with the 2 standards of just, I want to be above average or I want to go for the gold, you have the 2 standards of tuning. You know exactly how much of each factor you need to add for your URL. And we hot link up here. We hot link the search. So if you want to see what the search looks like today, that's this link. If you want to go to your tracked URL, the one that appeared in search, that's this link. And then down below, but less important, but if you want it, it's there, we have the competitive comparison. So we have all the factors, again, hot linked. And then we have your website that you chose to track, and the heading is a hot link again. Then we have the competitors you picked. So if you remember, we unchecked 3 and we added 12. Well, 1, 2, 4, and there's 10, 12. So it's showing you all the competitors. If you want 20 competitors, great. If you want 4 competitors, great. Just check what you want. And we have our correlation coefficient. This is that math that I was talking about. We correlate the measurement of each factor for all 100 results to figure out which factors appear to be contributing to the sort order of the search results. And what's great is math is great at doing that. So we can figure out which ones appear to influence sort order. And they're in descending order of which ones were strongest to weakest. And the green ones were statistically significant, and you see that that cuts off. So we show more than that because there's a likelihood that, these other ones can be beneficial, but they just weren't statistically significant from the data. So we share that information. The color coding here, the red versus green. So the normal green means it's above average. The bold green means it's the lead. And the red means it's below average. So you can see at a glance who is above average, who's the leader, and who is below average. And then, of course, we have the average among your competitors and the maximum among your competitors as discrete columns as well. And then finally, at the bottom, we have the search results snapshot. So you have a snapshot of the search results at the time the report was made. And this is great for being able to see leading matches in the title, the use of sentiment words. Are you going up against exact match and partial match domains? You can see the types of pages that are there. Are they category pages, location pages, home pages, product pages, blog posts? Can usually get an idea for the types of pages from the URL. So these are very useful. And then, of course, at the very bottom, branded footer if you want to do anything there with your branding. And so in this case, we ran one report. And we did that using this default setting track domain. But another cool thing you can do with this software is you can switch it to all results. And what it does then is it runs the report for all 100 results for the keyword all at once. So I'm going to do get data. Let's go back here, get data. And now we're going to rerun this report, but we're going to generate 100 reports. So each result gets its own report tuned for that result with your chosen competitors. And the runtime of doing this is typically about a minute or so longer than doing the single report because the analysis for each website you'll see at the end takes about 2 to 3 seconds, and times 100, that's fair amount of seconds. So we're almost done with the factor measurements, and then it'll start generating the reports. And as you can see, currently we're about halfway done generating the reports. And now it's completed. And you notice it doesn't show us a report because it doesn't know which one to show us. So it told us where we saved the reports. And so let me minimize this. We'll go to that folder. And here we can see we have this new date folder. So here's the report we ran earlier. There's a Cora log in case you have issues and you need to send me the log file. And inside the date folder, there is a keyword folder. And inside the keyword folder, there is a report for each of the top 100 results. And if we open up any of these, bring that into view. We can look at these, and there's a subtle difference with these in that if we scroll down to this report, the results snapshot, these are now hot links because we are cross-linking all of these reports here. So if you want to switch to the report for this search result, you can click this link. Over here, these are links to the websites, but we can go see this one by just clicking it. And so let me take this out of view again. One of the problems with this, though, is if we wanted to host this, we'd need a sitemap and an HTML index for it, and there's a way to do that. So the way that we do that, let me open Cora Lite again, and we go to Settings, Build Index. We need to select the date folder, not the keyword folder, the date folder. So let's go select that. So I go to the desktop and demo and the date folder and hit open. And then I would put in the stem URL for the website I plan to host it on. And I hit build index. And once I do that, we can minimize this, and we go back here Let me close this. And we have a sitemap, which contains all the URLs with our stem and the folder and each report file. But we also have this index file. Let me bring this back in view. That has a table of contents. So if we had multiple keyword folders, they'd all be linked here in the table of contents. And then if we go below, we have links to all of the reports for each keyword we had. So you could run a ton of related keywords, city SEO, city DUI lawyer, a bunch of different types of related product categories or things of that nature. And you could build up a lot of competitive information for that keyword space that all has a nice index, and you can drill down into specific keywords and specific entries for search results for those keywords. And so that's a very powerful tool. And again, all of this marketing message is customizable. You can place your own brand and your own message in there. So with that, let me show you another example. I'll go to it in the browser. It's my-seo.info. I ran Cora for just under 3 days using this mode, and I produced over 10,000 Cora reports. And so here's my table of contents. And the software built all of this for me. These are all the keywords I ran using all results mode. So it created 100 reports per keyword. And below are all of these. So if I click these table of contents ones, if I go to Columbus SEO, it will take me to the Columbus SEO section, of which I could go find Clint's website. And I can see that to be above average, he needs a little more. I'm giving Clint a hard time, but he's actually killing it in this keyword space. So that's, the type of capability that you have using this tool set. And it's very fast. It's much faster than Cora. And it's unlimited, any number of keywords, any number of websites, and of course the white label branding. And that's how this software works. Thank you so much.